Welcome back to another episode of Keoni Chats. So I want to start this episode by talking about my dad. This marks the first episode of the Keoni Chats podcast show where he is not with us anymore. Meaning, on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, my father passed away, and he was a quiet supporter of the show. He was very quiet about it, where he would give me ideas on topics, or I guess a short series for the show. The example I always bring up is that he always says that I should do an episode about the alumni of Sunset High School. And while I always fought him on the topic because I felt like I was pegging myself into a sort of niche, but what I believe his grand scheme was that he wanted me to focus on people that came from the high school and are now doing great things, or just extraordinary things that, to me, that I don't want to say lived a sheltered life, but had kind of a routine that would stick with, that I would think is beyond extraordinary. So, and the camcorder I'm using right now to record this actually came from him as well as a birthday gift. So that was, the month of April was the month that I really felt like I was the most damaged, which I learned in therapy that I'm not broken. I'm just very damaged right now. So not to put a damper again on Emily's episode, which was a very unique experience for me, as this was my first time ever communicating with her with my voice. Not with my voice. I would say, actually with my voice, and actually seeing her face, as I've only talked with her through emails. But so again, that was a fantastic. I thought I had a great time talking with her. I had a great time learning more about her outside of what I already knew, just kind of building the knowledge. So I had a lot of fun with that. But with this being the first episode without my dad on this earth, I just want to give him a little shout out, a little bit of love, because we always fought. He's very strongly opinionated, which some of you that do stick around with the show, they might relate with. So there are so many things I can go on and on about, but again, this is even recording this right now, it's a little difficult. But so again, this episode about Emily McMullen. I'm so happy that I was able to start working with Emily when I did with the company I currently work for, because she was the key component to getting the Adelsheim discount code that I plug into my episodes as of starting, I believe, January 2022. That's when I started plugging them. She was the person that helped get that to me. So I'm very thankful to her. Thank you, Emily, for helping out on that end. And so I think just the fact that this whole experience of talking to someone for the very first time with the voice, again, with seeing the face, seeing the person, it definitely made me feel more connected with her. Granted, her new role that she's in with the company means that my conversations with her at my workplace are very limited now, close to actually not at all. I still felt very close to her after this interview. So if this is your first time checking out the Keoni Chats podcast show, welcome. And all shows can be found on podcast platforms and also on YouTube when you search Keoni Chats. So drop a like, drop a subscribe, be in the loop for when new episodes are released. But if you do prefer to get notified through social media, then you can do so by following KC Media 13 on both Instagram and Twitter, and Conlu K Media on Facebook. So again, subscribe, or I guess it would just be follow for social medias. So if you are watching this and you see a little tag on the right-hand corner for KeoniConlu.com, that is my website, where I don't just put the audio and video components of each episode on there. But I do have, I do take some photos once in a while. Not so much lately, but I do take some photos, and I try to blog. Try is a key word. So most recently, I did the 2022 NFL mock drafts. I only did one. I was working on another one, hopefully to get that released before the draft, but that unfortunately that kind of fell through. But you can still check it out. Check out what I thought would have happened. Obviously, I was probably like 1% correct on guessing where people were going to go, but it's always fun. DC Animated Universe Review Series, that is still an ongoing thing. That'll always be an ongoing thing. At this point, we're about, we're in May of 2022. I haven't seen any DC animated movies come out yet. I believe there's one on the way, but that one's going to be a major theater release. So for now, that project is dormant, but check it out if you like to find out how I thought the previous years stacked up. So however you are listening to this episode, on whichever platform you prefer, I hope you enjoy my chat with Emily McMullen. So this is going to be different for me, Emily McMullen. Did I say your last name correct?
Yep.
Because this is actually our very, very, very first time seeing each other, talking to each other with our voices.
Yes.
I'm excited. I mean, you got this great, for those listening, she has this great virtual background of the company she represents, Adelsheim. It looks like we're lost in some sort of vineyards, though. So
Yes, this is actually our founder's home at Quarter Mile Lane. It's one of the first vineyard sites in the Willamette Valley. We're actually the first in the Chehalem Mountains.
Yes. So Emily, you and I have met through my work, which we use Adelsheim as like our thank you gift, I guess, vendor for, because, and I was just wondering this. So for you, what are some like traits or some qualities that when you encounter a company, you're like, this is going to be great. I think this is going to be fun. Because there's always those negatives of like, people maybe having a bad day, but because you seem like a bubbly person.
Thank you.
What are some of those like traits that stand out to you when you start talking with vendors that want to work with Adelsheim?
Yeah, for a company that we want to work with, one, we have to be filling a need, right? So for us, that really makes the relationship pure and authentic. So I come from a wine background here at Adelsheim Vineyards, and we have an Oregon luxury product. So that translates a lot nationally. So it's really nice when people first appreciate the type of product that we represent and what it will mean for the people that they are gifting to. It brings along that higher level of like, we really value you when they receive our wine. So the first thing we look for when we are working with a partner is just to really value what we bring to the table. Personally, on the logistics side, I love someone as yourself who's extremely organized, and we can have everything kind of lined up, ready to go. Just hit the go button with a little bit of humor on the side. That makes for a really great day-to-day working relationship.
Yeah, because I think this was around October when we just started asking you. I asked you like, oh, how is the Halloween, I guess, festivities over there down in the vineyards? And I've only been there once, but it was still like, I've learned about this too. When it comes to vineyards and the Oregon, Washington area, we love our views.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We really love our views.
There's something special about that. I mean, you can have a production facility anywhere, and there are some companies doing wonderful, unique products in a very industrialized kind of space. But the romanticism and the reality is that we're an agricultural business. So getting to capitalize on that, we go out and we prune the Syrah grapes every year during harvest. Like our team goes across the street to the vineyard, picks the grapes to give them in. So there's something really truthful about that interaction with the product. And so, yeah, it's also not a bad view to come into work too every day.
Oh yeah. Now, that drive to work, I mean, you don't have to say specifically where you live, but I know I live, I guess, I've jumped around since college, but when I had my first adult job, that's like Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It was all the way. I don't know if you know of like the Moda Center, kind of the Rose Garden esque center. There's Swan Island a little further north of it, or northwest of it. That's where I worked for my first adult job, and the commute sucked. Just because of all that traffic. Did that affect you at all when deciding to work at Adelsheim, thinking about how to get there?
Yeah, so I traded a 45-minute commute in the public education sector. I did that for about 10 years for a 5-minute drive outside a small town. So Adelsheim is based just outside Newburgh. I have a nice little quarter acre in town, so it makes the commute much quicker. It also means, though, that I'm at the discretion of the staff when we have snow days or emergency things that need a manager on site. I'm one of the quickest people to get here. So it is a trade up.
Yeah, like, I don't know how much I want to be close to work, but okay, I'll bite the bullet on this one, guys.
Right.
So I just at the time of this recording, you're going on your 11th year with the company. Just say that alone. I've been with a company. That's a long-term
7
relationship.
years. Yeah.
It's a long term. How have you kept yourself in the game? Because I'm always dancing around that 2 to 3 year mark at a job before, like, maybe, I mean, if my current work listens to this or watches this, I'm sticking with you guys,
Staying long term.
staying long term. But that's usually when, like, I start getting a little bit of a wandering eye. How did you keep yourself focused for 11 years?
Yeah, for me, it's about finding that newest link to the passion. And lots of times that can be upward mobility. So I haven't worked in the cellar yet, but in the direct to consumer operations up here, I've held most of the positions: wine educator, host, party bouncer, tasting room manager, sales associate, and my current role is corporate clients manager, that we kind of developed when I hit a new phase of life and needed a different work-life blend. And this is where I've settled for about the last almost 4 years now in this role. And it really allows me to support other people. So I find moving them into the next step, the passion for me right now.
So with a teaching background, and then because I'm a journalist, or I guess you can't really see, but over here I have a journalism degree from University of Oregon. So anytime I hear the word like storytelling, or like there's some sort of conversation involved, connect with people, I kind of perk up a little bit. I'm like, ooh, ooh. So when they said, "Oh, teaching is a part of this position," what was your initial mindset going through
Yeah,
that?
I loved it. One of my degrees is a master's of teaching. So I'm really enamored with how people acquire knowledge, and the natural progression of knowledge without having to sit down and test it out and memorize facts, which is what I think we do in the workplace. We don't sit down with a handbook, complete a course, and then we're ready to go. We acquire this very organically and turn it into a skill set that then we can use in the position. So it very much fit with what I wanted to do and where my education and training is in.
Why did you choose education, by the way?
I've always had a heart for people.
Yeah.
It happened that it was for small people for a while. I was working in the elementary landscape. But I believe everyone has a unique purpose in life, and I can learn from everyone. So that places me really well in listening and helping others achieve their goals.
Yeah. And then so you are, again, this is kind of a new experience for me, because you're someone that I'm interviewing that doesn't have a whole lot of social media presence, which there's a lot of, like, thoughts between social media, which is fine, but as a podcaster host, I need that for research. So when you got your first teaching job, were you kind of were there any kind of moments where you're like, okay, this is awesome, but I'm not confident in my abilities, because my education can only get me so far, then experience, like, what was someone that was like, oh crap moments? By the way, you can curse on this if you like.
All right.
Okay, so just letting it loose.
Just let it
Now you got a brand over your, I guess, over your right shoulder or top, but we're okay. So what are those, some of those, like, oh shit moments, like, oh god, why did I do that?
Yeah. I think it is true that book learning can't prepare you for stepping in front of whatever audience you're in. You do need some knowledge to take you there, and relying on that lets you move conversations through faster, no matter what audience you're in front of. That skill set. I think my very first, like, and maybe one of my onlys, because I really loved what I do and I love sharing the knowledge, was in a room full of 35 kindergartners, and they were
Oh,
running around like kindergarten cop. And I was like, someone needs to teach me the code word, because I don't know how to get them to stop and listen to all this wonderful classic history I know about music and things. So that was that, but the rest of it, I've always felt very confident in the skill set that I'm bringing to the table. So I haven't had too many of those moments.
yeah. Okay, so you're teaching kindergarten and music. Was that the one you wanted to kind of was it major in or just focus on?
Yeah, so I have a degree in music. So I did 4 years at George Fox University,
Oh,
and then decided that the avenue I wanted to use that in, because I have this love of people and really speaking to the individual, I wanted to use that through teaching.
hmm,
So I have my master's, and I did elementary music, so kindergarten through sixth grade, with some stints in middle school and high school. So I got a lot of student bodies into contact with, like
yeah.
200 a day, that I could just speak good things into their life, as well as bring knowledge and fun.
Yeah. What was the hardest? Well, I want to say actually, because you could say, I want to say what's the hardest age or what's the hardest level to teach, but I feel like that's been asked. What is the easiest level to teach? What is the one you find the most enjoyment with?
I think personal enjoyment comes from third and fourth grade. They have enough human skills on board to
Yeah.
really interact with the content, and they still have this zest and passion for learning that you definitely see start to diminish as the
Mm.
grades go higher and higher. Public education is quite a challenge, and our teachers and our support staff and our administrators who are in it are working their butts off daily for it. So it's a big thing. It's nice to keep that passion, and then you hook the kids that you can, and you support the kids that have alternative life paths.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. Now I have to ask, what was the most difficult one? Okay, I can't just leave that dangling one out there.
I'm not, and this is in conflict with my personal life at the moment, because I have a 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, and almost 4-year-old at home, but I don't really like little kids. I was never one to babysit or do that kind of stuff. So the younger grades, I found the patience required quite a
Mm,
challenge.
yeah. Yeah. My partner, she is a pre-K teacher at a private school up in Hillsboro.
Angel. She's an angel.
She a lot of patience, but she tells me stories about her day at work and then how she has to be a little more strict with some of those kids because maybe sometimes their foundation isn't set up yet there.
Mhm.
So she's like, you have to put away, you have to clean up before you can go. And then the parents are like, we need to go, but the kid has to clean up. It's like, ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh,
Mhm. I had
hello.
a parent one time try to bribe a kid with an ice cream cone to sit down in my classroom. And I thought, oh, this is why we can't be successful. I don't have ice cream. So there are definitely some challenges to overcome.
At that point when you were teaching, did you have your kids yet or not yet?
I did not. So teaching can be, for some people, a highly stressful and busy, involved thing. I saw 1,000 kids a week, 200 kids a day in half-hour increments.
Oh,
And I really believe that challenged my body. So we had some struggles getting pregnant, and it wasn't actually until I chose to leave teaching for a career in the wine industry that then we were successful with reproduction.
oh, there you go. That's gotta be hard too because I hear so many stories. I don't like hear about them personally, but I see it in TV movies of like how much stress a hard labor or hard childbearing beginning stages can be if something's not going right inside the body. How did you uh, pick yourself up when on those hard days when it's kind of hard to see that shining light?
Yeah, I have a pretty strong spiritual belief, so that keeps my hope going. I have a really rock solid foundation that I believe that we can weather any storms that come our way. So there are definitely times that get you down and keep you down, but being able to think that someday it'll be brighter again is definitely a way through storms. So we were lucky that we didn't struggle indeterminately for a long time. It was really just a transition of about a year for us that ended up working out.
Yeah. Was that something did your mom, like your parents, help also establish that mindset into you of, you can always kind of find that goal line, or you can find that finish line?
Yeah, Ferguson's don't give up was my maiden name. And that was one of the ones, like, you just keep going. We finish the things we've started. So a lot of really strong foundational background built into that. I hope to pass that on to my kids too.
Yeah. And then your parents, like, how are they? Again, we never really talked about this, so kind of going off the path we've sort of created for each other. But your parents, when it came to, did they support your decision to become a teacher when you wanted to become a teacher? Because when I wanted to go be journalism, or do business, my dad's like, business gets you more money, journalism doesn't. Go business. So
Very clear delineation there. Yeah, I was lucky to have very supportive parents of art and diverse. That being said, I was the first in my family to graduate college. My grandfather was very, very, very proud. So that was wonderful. And I did start my career in teaching, and my sister started in nursing. So very kind of traditional female appropriate roles in certain viewpoints. So I think that was easy and fit the mold of what would be expected in our culture circle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I remember in a Christmas in Canada, because I have aunt up there. Our grandpa and my grandma on my dad's side was also up there, and my brother, who has 2 degrees, who also holds it over my head to this day. He's like, oh, he found a way to get a copy of both those degrees and gave it to my grandparents. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna finish now.
In education, I don't think that that's the right path for everyone. I think it's probably my music and creative training and personal joy of that. I think everyone brings something unique to the table. And if we all had that education route, what a boring world it would be. So I really appreciate like the unique person that you are, that you bring to this situation.
So, hello. And then jumping into the wine industry, I mean, there's got to be a way you can help that school you worked at with some way or form with Adelsheim. You can, like, hey, here's a case of wine. You guys work hard.
They do frown on, giving them to the teachers during the workday. But we do work a lot with fundraisers, actually, for nonprofits and things, whether it's teachers organizations. We did one with a local PTA, or we've worked with some cancer nonprofits, a waterway. I don't think I can probably say who it is, but protecting natural waterways and things, but fundraising efforts where, yet again, we get to capitalize on this wonderful product and delicious wine that we make, and help bring recognition to important causes that might not have the same financial resources that we do.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I just thought about this, but when it comes to maybe you have that kind of fundraiser, and then you have maybe a parent of, let's say it's with the school. Let's say let's say that you have a parent of one of the kids that go to school, and the parent has a bad history with alcohol. Adelsheim, at the end of the day, is still a winery. How do you help that parent understand that this is just it's more about the community than the wine itself?
Yeah, well, we have kind of 2 tacks we take. One is if the individuals, whoever they are responsible in their own way for it, we always have non-alcoholic options. We have one of our virtual wine experiences is available with a snack box, which comes with sparkling wine flavored sodas that are non-alcoholic. So there's a way that they can opt into that experience. Sideline, not with a parent, but I have had to escort a few people off site here when they've chosen to not, in my bouncer type role during events. So got taken on a party bus once. So someone needed me to come with them when they were being escorted. So that was a short trip.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You said bouncer. I want to go back. I want to bounce back to that. What, that doesn't seem like it fits your personality at all.
Right? Which is what makes it so wonderful, because I can tell people no with a smile. No one feels like they're actually being kicked out. They're just being invited back on another day.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That is
I am in
good.
sales.
You could talk your way around any difficult situation. Oh, I gotta look out for you, Emily. So yeah, while in one of our earlier work conversation exchanges, you did tell me about the virtual wine experience. I want to still dive into your life more, but as we're talking about work, uh, tell me about this virtual wine experience, because you told me about the process and some of the steps, but I was like still like, oh, this is kind of ingenious.
Yeah, they're really wonderful. Really, it comes from that idea of meeting a need again. So, through our last couple of years, we've had lots of ways to be creative about ways to meet needs. And one that still seems pretty relative right now, although we've done a hybrid type option, is ways for people who aren't in a traditional workplace to still connect.
Mhm.
Whether it means maybe your business isn't traveling or your team is all remote, we need ways to connect to each other. So, I have beautiful gift boxes with different types of wine and experience opportunities, like a wine and cheese tasting. We ship it nationally, and then everyone gets on a Zoom call, much like this, and hangs out together. It's just a slightly better than your average work meeting, because you also get delicious goodies. And,
True.
the wine makes the connection easier always.
True. And there, I mean, you don't have to, like, you can always just do the membership, you can do the wine experience, but I feel like the fact that people early on in COVID, I mean, we're starting to get a little, our rules are starting to get a little lighter. I feel like back in early stages, yeah, everyone was kind of yearning for some human connection.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
this is where Adelsheim comes in like a shining knight.
My creative background saw the need and what I had, and these beautiful boxes that we just have always had. And I was like, I can bring the experience to you. If you can't come to us, we'll bring it to you. So I rapidly developed these ideas, got our director of education on board. She hosted any event that actually wanted a sommelier type experience.
Mm,
Some ended up just being happy hours for the teams or group or friends that were involved. It's really quite versatile. So it was
yeah.
really fun to see. Went gangbusters. I had never seen a new product kind of take off like that before in all my years of sales.
It seems like I did look at Adelsheim's YouTube because you did send it to me. I did find it on the website as well. And it seems like you guys are also starting to utilize that kind of channels or those kinds of ways to connect with people. I can't remember the person's name, but yeah, she was posting like short videos of like her digesting the wine or something like that.
Yes, Elizabeth Clark. She's our director of education. And yeah, she creates accessible videos for people to be able to taste wine and have that personalized experience if they can't come get it from our educators on site.
Yeah. So yeah, the company seems to be able to adjust. I mean, if a company can't adjust, it changes. Then I feel like then they
Right.
need to retool them. How have you adjusted to change? I mean, you did say you're close to the office, and then you're in the office right now. Was that
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yep.
Um, so, but working from home and dealing with the 2 and the 4-year old, and also trying to make sure that you're still earning the money and also still keeping track with work. How has that balance been for you these last couple of years?
That's a great question. It's been something to navigate for sure. I do love learning, so I don't mind doing the research involved when I come across a personal obstacle to figure out how it worked. And for me, on the days when we were weeks and months when we were completely at home, navigating work meetings and focus time while taking care of children, as that responsibility felt to me in our household dynamic, I found that very challenging. But locally, lovely. Most people are wonderful to have, the 2-year-old on the call with us as long as
Yeah.
she's behaving. So that was personally very exhausting. And my partner and I had to find ways around that. It has evolved as this whole situation has changed to 3 days in office. and 2 days at home with very flexible hours as I'm working with companies across the nation. So time zones, and I work with a lot of CEOs and high level office managers. So the time that they have for me is the time I need to be available for them. So that lends me lots of flexibility.
Yeah, I live by myself, and there's times when I'm working from home and I have to go on a meeting. I'm like, oh well, I'm glad I don't have to, like, have to worry about a child or pets, or otherwise just kind of making a lot of noise in the background. It's like I can just focus on this. Keoni Chats is proudly sponsored by Adelsheim Vineyards. Adelsheim is a vineyard located in the Pacific Northwest since 1971. Founders David and Ginny Adelsheim opened up the vineyard with the goal to create world-class wine out of the Chehalem Mountains. Adelsheim has worked with companies like One Barrel, Growing Gardens, the Portland Trailblazers, and now the Keoni Chats podcast show. Beyond thankful to Adelsheim and their folks for providing this opportunity for the Keoni Chats fans to try some of the products. I think that's amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you would like to try some of Adelsheim's wine, you would go to adelsheim.com, ADELSHEIM.com, click the shop button and look and create a cart that could include some Pinot Noir, some Rosé, some Pinot Gris, and maybe something from the merchandise section. So before you check out, use the discount code Grand Cru, so GRANDCRU, for 20% off your total purchase. So Grand Cru is a term across all wine enthusiasts, call that. And so if you want to find out what it means, go ahead and Google that. And it's always a good search. So that's 20% off. And so I think that's awesome because I did some research. I was even sign up for the membership, but when you sign up, you do get 15% off. So this is a great way to get a little bit more off of high quality wine to enjoy, to have fun with. So you must be 21 years and older to purchase any alcohol from Adelsheim, and everyone, please enjoy responsibly. I've also noticed, again, for those listening, you're wearing this very slick leather jacket. Easily, you could wear that at home. So when it comes to these Zoom meetings with people across the country, what's your schedule like? How much time do you give yourself to get ready? Because I mean, all I have to do is just get the hair done, throw on a collared shirt, and I'm good.
That's a great question. But and I think it's something to be said for anyone who is at home with children, whether it's man or woman, young adults, grandparents who are providing care. My preparation starts about a week ahead. When we are scheduling that meeting, I need it to fall solidly during nap time, or I need to make alternate arrangements. So one of the frustrating or challenging parts of that can be when meetings get pushed by 15 minutes because something ran long. All of a sudden, we're getting into some real strategic planning in my home when that happens. But I try to get on 15 minutes before and make sure everybody is all settled and I look as professional as can be.
Okay, so you've been sitting here for about 10 minutes before I jumped on. Oh, awesome. I feel great. It does. I was debating. I was like, it's about 5 minutes prior to our meeting. I know I want to at least sit down and get the computer up and going, but I was like, and then you popped in there as soon as I joined the meeting. I was like, oh, okay, all right. I need to get in the game mode quickly.
Well, and you probably can. Whereas if something is wrong in my world, it takes a hot moment to fix. So it's better to be prepared on the earlier side there for me. I have found that a unique culture shift, though, where there used to be kind of a hierarchy to who showed up at the in-person meeting first, who had those first 5 to 10 minutes with the boss, who was always walking in a moment late. And in the Zoom culture, it seems we're all in that like moment late place, and it's quite refreshing to be on the same level playing field.
Yeah, you're like, oh, look at that. Welcome to my field. Thank you. I'm very excited. So you were also kind of my test guinea pig with this. I send out 5 questions prior to, and then one of those I asked is just, because with the home living and also children and meetings at home, and then now in the office again, I feel like that can be easily a recipe for being overwhelmed or overworked or just overexhausted. You did
Yes.
so. how what are some how do you battle those moments where you're like, I just kind of want to drive to the beach and get away? I just want to do something else instead of my normal routine. How do you kind of stay the course?
Mhm. Most of the time, I do stay the course. I have learned about myself that if I try something 3 times and I can't get myself to do it, I need to honor that in myself and have a beach day. And I'll call in
Oh,
sick and we'll go to the beach. But that's probably because I tend towards the overworker, overachiever, always available. So on the days when there just seems to be too much on the plate, I start out the day by writing it all down and then prioritizing it by timeline is the
mm.
first section for me. And that allows me to, I use 4 sections for that. So, you know, essentially cut my list into a quarter. So that feels good, right? For the first 10
Yeah,
minutes of my day.
yeah. And then use color. Colors always help, I hear.
I do, yeah. So I color code that. So my sections are to be in the future, upcoming, now,
Uh-huh.
and to do. So the to do is my list for the day, and then the now is my active projects. And so the to do list is red, and that's my hit list for the day. And then I prioritize order that. So it's okay if there's 10, I just start with number 1, and then that's all I have to do.
How did this process come about? Because that's very that takes a lot of strategy too. That takes a lot of because I know for myself, I just want to jump in there and just get it done, and then I kind of hit the things as it comes.
Mhm.
How did this method get
Yeah.
developed?
I realized I was hitting the things that I liked to do the most, and the things I didn't like to do but needed to do kept falling behind. And then had enough days of the overwhelm that I have to credit a coworker. Actually, I came into work and I was like, "How do I get it all done?" And so she had this priority list idea, and I implemented it and will use it my whole life. I absolutely love
Oh, see, work is good for other things.
it.
What? What? You can actually learn life lessons out of work.
Right? From everyone, anywhere. I'm telling you.
Yeah, because so my boss at where I work now, she's like, we have this system to kind of keep task reminders. I haven't seen you use it. What's your method? And like, is it successful? I don't want you to fall behind. So she's like looking out for me in that sense, which I'm grateful for. But then part of me is always like, I could write it down, or I could do like the four quadrants, but or I could just start working, and then next thing you know, like I found this way. Did you know? I'm gonna share some knowledge with you. Did you know that you can flag emails in Outlook?
Did you know that my inbox only has 3 emails in it?
What?
I'm a big deleter. When it's done, like
Wow.
I'll calendar it if there's an action item and then it's done. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
You would have a panic attack if you saw my Outlook email.
Well, your brain probably synthesizes it in this great way where I would blow up. So
In teaching, was there a lot of psychology work behind that?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things that I think that is underrated about teaching is everyone's like, "Oh, you're the expert in the field." I mean, I went through this season where say you have to be a highly educated professional, for which we all have degrees in the content. So it was a little silly there. But in order to get people to digest and understand and synthesize that information, you have to understand them, whether
Mm.
they're 6 years old or 35 or 56, and trying to learn about the different soil types. So it's really about the audience that you're looking at. To that psychology comes in very handy.
Okay. Okay. Because I always thought, I there was a time where I was pursuing marketing, or I thought about it, and then a time where I thought about, oh, journalism still ended up being the route I went, but in the subdivision of journalism, there's PR. So it's like maybe, but at the end of the day, it's like I'm barely using my degree, but it's still like I'm diving in. I'm diving into your psychology a little bit.
This, yeah. This
This
is
is
storytelling right here.
exactly. I believe in also that sheet. You mentioned that when you are, I think, oh, I don't have it in front of me, but you tend to say bad jokes or kind of poor jokes when you're kind of a little nervous, or you just kind of overwhelmed or something like that, or another extension of the overwhelmed handling. I wanted to hear some bad jokes. I wanted to hear some of the ones you use.
I don't have any memorized. It's more that my empathetic nature becomes over aroused and I get really in tune with the situation, but I'm not very funny. So then when I'm trying to connect in the moment, I'll make a poorly timed joke or something that no one else understands. Yeah. So
Were you a funny kid when back in the
no.
elementary middle school?
No, I was the shy kid who ate lunch in the library by myself and walked around on the
Oh.
playground alone, which is hilarious for how much like I love people and getting to know them like deeply and personally. We've had some chats about celebrations
Yeah.
and how our different families work on that. And I love getting to know that piece of you. But in the school situations as a child, there just weren't that many chances to really connect with my peers.
Yeah, I was kind of, I was the athlete, but still my social skills aren't where they are right now. I couldn't hold a sentence to an attractive looking lady on the playground. Now I can, talk to them for an hour and a half. It's like, growth.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely, while I still love libraries and would happily spend an hour a day reading, I don't think I would choose that as an escape as I did growing up.
Are you seeing any of your, maybe not just you or your partner, but also maybe your parents? Are they starting to show up in your kids yet?
Yes, very much so. My son is very empathetic. We'll be
Mm.
sitting at the table with guests and things, and he'll say, Grandma, how was your day today? Tell me more.
Oh,
And he's 4. So he's obviously going to be a people driven person. And my daughter, who is 2, is very feisty and spunky. I think she's going to embody kind of our passionate nature,
hmm.
driven to solve things in the world.
Okay. Ooh, you got some stuff going on back there.
Yep, the dish room's just down the hallway. We're in the middle of Saturday service.
Oh, well, I'm happy I could, take that away from you and help you uh, not help with Saturday Surf. I mean, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
be distracted with work related things. As a mother, when it comes to uh, telling, making sure your kid understands that it's okay to miss on some homework assignments. Because I know maybe my parents were just a little too lenient with me on that, and I didn't do so great in school. How are you when it comes to making sure your kid understands that it's okay to not be amazing?
Not great. I think because I have such an interest in learning and like the acquisition of skill, it's hard for me to wait for that to naturally take shape. I am aware that it takes 4 times of repetition for the average person to like ingratiate the knowledge and use it effectively. So being patient, again, has always been a challenge for me. But I think what I'm going to do as my children grow is to make sure that there aren't consequences attached to learning, that it always is a fun kind of experience, and hopefully with a supportive nature of basic boundaries in our home and habits and schedules. Hopefully. I say that everything now because you always have critiques of parents. You're like, I'd never do that, and as soon as you do, it changes completely.
Yeah.
So hopefully the kind of habits that we'll build will lend to success in that realm, but I'm not really sure. We'll see how it goes, and I'm aware that my children will be individuals and different, so I'll probably have lots more learning to do as they grow too.
Your level of just scaredness, but just like level of alertness to the world, how has that progressed? Because I feel like when, I mean, I'm not a parent, I'm a cat parent, so, and a cat uncle. um I just imagine the first time your child comes out, you're just like, oh crap, I'm a parent now. Oh crap. how
Very
has that
much.
how's that idea kind of been less like oh crap now to like I feel good, I'm okay, I'm okay? How do you keep yourself from being to be okay?
Yeah. One is knowing who you want them to be, right? I don't want my son to be fearful of climbing the tall ladder because I told him it was scary. Now, usually that results in me having to turn my back and walk away so
Mm,
that he can, if he falls, he falls. It'll be fine. With that parenthood came a natural response that I wasn't prepared for that is rooted in fear, I
mhm.
think, hoping that they will survive and thrive and do all those things. So I have a feeling that will be with me forevermore. And my job will be just to kind of quell it and allow them to succeed and fail
Mhm.
in ways that work for them. I was not prepared for how deeply that protection instinct would come.
Yeah, yeah. And what do they think of the Adelsheim? Because again, I'm looking at your background. I'm just like, that looks
Mhm.
so much fun. What do they think of the vineyard and the property it sits on?
They love it. They love it. And they can come run out here. We have a big garden up on the hillside that we can go explore. They're, of course, the little darlings of the team here who has taught them how to clink and cheers their glasses. So it's pretty adorable and it's a highlight anytime they get to come out.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So when so there are times with my work where I just have to remind myself like it's just work. I don't have to like stress out too much about it. I mean, granted, it's a lot of like money here, there, or it's like people in high positions, but in the day, it's just a job. How do you keep yourself from getting too wound up in the job and just remembering it's wine?
Yeah. hmm Well, we have two things. One here at work is it's just wine, not life or death. So that kind of keeps us on the like when people are flipping out or we're flipping out about the next thing we need to get going, like it is just wine. We will be fine, especially if we drink a glass or two. So that helps here on site. And then at home, I actually um, have transitioned to the semi part-time model, even though I do a lot of work from home. And it has been hard for me not to be in the daily to day ongoings here on
Mhm.
site all the time. I very much like to be in the know and help solve problems. So my personal mantra has been right now in my life, kids come first. So anytime I feel out of the loop or not as involved in solving those problems as I would like to be there, it's okay because I've chosen at this point while my children are young and not in school yet to make sure that that's my priority.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely hard to not keep asking about Adelshine because it's literally right behind you. But yeah, how that boundary between you and you, we're gonna work from home. It's made that very hard to do. Even like my mom,
Mhm.
she's been working from home well before the pandemic, but she just has like it went from like a few days a week to now like full time. But she's like, oh, um, I just make sure your work like I mean, I think it was when my interview with my guest previously, or maybe two previously ago, they're like, oh, how do I keep yourself from being yourself and also your work self from seeping into your home? How do you kind of, you know, how do you find personal achievements at home or just like away from your work job? Because I mean, I feel like the virtual wine experiences and your acceleration in the company, that's amazing. I'm never going to count that out. But what do you do to like keep yourself happy outside of the job?
Yeah, yep. I think you have to know yourself, right? If you don't know the things that make you happy or that bring value to your life outside, that's going to be a real struggle and something that we in Western culture deal with a lot, right? We put such precedence on like, are you successful at work? Then you have a great life. Like, did you put in all your time? So figuring out what it is, those things that fill you outside the office. I personally love to garden. I have a 1/4 acre.
Hmm.
So I'm always experimenting and trying new things. I have vegetable gardens and flower gardens. I love to be outside in the sunshine. Obviously, the development of my children into conscientious, positive human beings takes a lot of my time at the moment, which I'm thankful to be able to grant to them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, knowing those pieces about yourself. And for me, it's worked out really well to be able to be at home during this transition time. I don't need work life balance in that I do 8 hours here and 4 hours here. I need a blend in that I can live the life that I want with passionate work on the side. And the way that Adelsheim has allowed me to do that has been quite wonderful.
Yeah, I remember when I was working at home one time, it was like, okay, I have my work laptop up, I'm keeping an eye on things, but it's like I can also maybe watch something for like a couple minutes and actually like undetach for a little bit. I was like, this feels weird. This feels wrong. Am I doing something wrong?
It's better for your brain in some ways. So
That's true. Look at again, studying of the brain. It'll never that knowledge. I feel like for me, when it comes, I'm taking more and more time away from like past college life, past college, where it's like I don't have to think about it all the time, 24 hours a day, but yet somehow it still stays with me. Thinking about school, thinking about journalism, it's like I thought I was done with this.
well, it's becomes a part of you and a skill you can use moving forward. My next degree that I want will be a PhD in neuroscience. I'm really interested in like the physicality of how that knowledge is transferred and how music affects emotions, why you can cry when you hear a song that has no words. I think that is something to study.
Where did this passion come from?
This is my personal driving joy, I think, is in creativity and music. I play ukulele, guitar, piano, recorder, all your elementary instruments you could think of. So quite often I find that's a good way for me to relax and recuperate.
Yeah.
Play music.
When you were pregnant with James back in 2018, what was some of the songs you were playing? Because I've seen people like mothers like play. I don't know if it's like music from the headphones they put it on the belly or they they just play music out loud. What are some songs you played?
I completed a course of study with a local, well, he's not local, he's international folk artist, and he studied different cultures and the folk music that they sang to their children. So I chose 3 lullabies based out of that research that have different melodic contours and lines and dynamics. That, of course, would be good for brain development. And the research showed that if you sing to them while they're in utero, then when they come out, they will fall asleep 75% faster than other newborns. Ooh. So I didn't have a newborn next to him to compare, but the lullabies have seemed to work. And now that he's 4, he still asks for those 3 specific songs.
And then with Rose, which are more recent, a couple of years ago, or going to be a couple of years ago, how did you alter the music introductory for her?
Chose the same route. She seems to have less interest in it, being a more highly mobile kind of personality, we can already tell, but used the same route and luckily had not much sleep problems. So. Oh,
good, good. Yeah, I was a big hugger growing up, or when I was a kid. I think my mom always say like when guests would come in, I would just run and be like, hug. I was like, that fits me to the T right now.
Do you still hug?
Yeah, all the time, all the time. My brother gives me a little slack because he's like, stop hugging me, but he's like, okay, hug me. It's like, yeah, whittled you down, boy.
Is your love language touch then, do you think?
I would think I think so. Yeah, hug or like a rub, like rubbing my partner's back when she's having a tough day or something like that, or holding hands or cuddling. It's definitely, I think that does fall into my category. See, this is not just a one-way street. You can ask me anything.
Yeah, I like it. I'll send you some more high five emojis as we like continue our work relationship.
Yes, which we'll talk about more because you are instrumental, because previously I had a partnership with Hard Yerba Mate, and then when we started working together, I was like, could I? Okay, I'll try. So as the CEO and the host of the Keoni Chats podcast show, thank you, Emily, for helping procure that discount code for Adelsheim wine.
Yeah, definitely. We are excited to be able to offer it. It would be active on our website. And actually, if you mentioned it in a tasting room, and for anyone local who would want to come out, we'd be able to offer that there.
Yes, it's definitely it was a lot of fun just to have that conversation with you and try to like maneuver something and see what we could like if there's some way somehow this could work out. And then look at that. I was like, oh, all right. And I mean, with Pacific Northwest also having a lot of other wineries, what is something that makes Adelsheim more unique than the other ones? Which we don't. I mean, we don't have to say their names because this is not about them. But how does Adelsheim stand out in your mind?
Yeah, I was really lucky. I fell into a job here through a Craigslist ad. I wanted to work in hospitality in the valley. I'd grown up doing that on the coast, lots of high-end restaurants and hotels. So I knew that's what I wanted to transition to here. And when I read Adelsheim's background and story, we were founded in 1971 by David Adelsheim, and we were the first here in the Willamette Valley. And the product that we create is such a high level quality still to this day. That story had me hooked from the beginning. I had worked at a luxury smokehouse before that had a very similar family storyline. They had owned their fishing boats, they had their smokehouse, and then I worked in their sales department. Um, and so just to take that passion from the actual maker and transition it so the world can see that the story, I find that highly invigorating. And Adelsheim has that unique touch that we're still locally owned. The quality level, of course, hasn't decreased. We haven't been bought out by a big company. There are things that can go wrong through the course of time in a company's history that then just have to be accounted for in different ways. And if I was ticking the box of all the places I would want to look now, if I was looking for a job, Adelsheim would have them all ticked off.
So you said that you're not a sports fan, but I think I might be saying it wrong. I say Adelsheim.
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 Yeah, there
Okay.
you go.
So I've been saying it wrong. Um, and they work with the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, I was excited when I worked with you to get a bottle of I think it's just like a Pinot Noir or just red wine that was from the Portland Trailblazers in their 50th anniversary. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is so cool. Have have you? I don't want to say leverage, but have you like also given that same bottle or any other Blazer themed bottle to any of your friends and seen their reactions?
Yeah, it's been very fun to follow kind of that trajectory of maybe you're not traditional wine connoisseur, because we see quite a few of those people drawn to us already. But through the natural partnership of the Blazers 50th anniversary and our 50th, both being Oregon pioneers, it was such a natural partnership of two iconic Oregon brands. So then to be able to share our wine with that Blazers logo with friends and families, this was so cool. Yeah, is awesome.
Oh
We're
man.
very proud of that work.
And it's at this recording, the other person that the company has worked with, CJ McCollum, has moved on to the New Orleans Pelicans. So that one I was also very excited for, but I don't know how much further that relationship will. Now he's out of Oregon, so
Did
a
you
little,
read
a little
his
sad.
goodbye brief though? His goodbye letter to Oregon is
I
so wonderful.
I've scanned it, but like yeah, my partner, she read it more in depth. It's a chunky one. It's pretty
Mhm.
big. So I didn't get a whole time to sit down and read it, but she said she teared up a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. Very honest and loving of Oregon and relationships to continue moving forward. So we're excited about that. That is a separate brand from ours, but it is nice to produce the wine.
Yeah, yeah, and then so there was something, I guess, now going back to you, there was maybe one more thing I want to ask you. We keep talking about knowing yourself, whether it is with the work or whether it's yourself as a mother. Tell me about when you were still figuring out yourself, because it seems like you've had yourself figured out for a while now, but it's like I know, like during my college days, high school days, those, and every time in between, I'm just like, what am I doing here? What's going on? When did you feel lost?
There have been a couple of times in my life where I've had large life experiences that I think have caused me to rethink who I was or what parts of me looked like in light of a new circumstance. A couple of years ago, In 2019, my brother passed away, leaving a 16-year-old niece who moved in with us, and we cared for her until she turned 18. So that moment was unexpected. The diagnosis was pretty quick, and we lost him within a year. So that transition caused me to look at who I was and what made me happy, and brought me passion in life, and how I could re-envision that in a new set of circumstances, a smaller house, a brand new teenager who I hadn't raised, a loss of emotional support in my life. And I think knowing yourself doesn't necessarily mean you always know the way forward or the path or a decision you should make. It's really from that daily question, am I happy and do I feel well now? So if the answer to that is mostly yes, then you know yourself and it's going fine. You don't have to know what comes in 6 months or 2 years, or if you ever finish that collegiate degree. Those aren't really the questions. It's, for me, it's when the question is answered too many days in a row. I'm not happy. This doesn't feel well. I can't stay here. That's when it begs you to look at what is in your life that you do enjoy, and you should follow that more passionately.
Yeah, and again, this was not on the tracking sheet. It was on a topic sheet, but if there's something you don't feel comfortable answering, that's totally fine. But um, did you ever go to therapy, or how did you come?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Because I'm in therapy right now, and there are times I was telling my therapist, I was like, "Have you ever just had like a client or just a patient afterwards just be like, I'm exhausted. I'm just like, I am dragging my feet heading into the next appointment." But
Hate it. Every single session. I hate going.
yeah,
Yeah.
what was some of your takeaways from your time with therapy, or if you're still going?
Yeah, I've been on and off over the course of my life. I have a divorce in my history, the death of my brother, some other things that I've been through off and on, and have been lucky to work with a few different counselors who know my story and have helped me transition through phases in my life that were quite challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I did find the appointments exhausting because it's work. It's like going for an emotional mental workout. So
Mm-hmm.
just like you feel tired at the end of your lifting session, like your brain and your heart and your body feel tired after those. We were really lucky to work with a nonprofit group called the Dougie Center. When my brother died, they provide free grief counseling groups for children who've lost a parent. And then the guardians also have a meeting space as well. And just the way that they run those groups and provide non-judgmental support to people in those moments, a lot of them are from traumatic, unexpected loss, is such a necessary, wonderful thing. So we did that for a number of years, and it was very beneficial in our healing, and we learned lots of things about grief that I will forever take forward with me.
And the niece that you took in at 16, how has she been in terms of just continuing to push forward with the tragedy that she had to deal with at
Yeah.
a very pivotal time of her life?
Yeah, the day before her 16th birthday
Oh
actually is the
wow.
day my brother passed away. The anniversary is in March, so this is always a challenging month for our family. She gets up every day and puts one foot in front of the other. In the couple years that she was with us, we put one foot in front of the other every day, and completed high school, moving out to apartment, has jobs that she likes doing and relationships that she enjoys. So if in my book, for anybody, that's a success story.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I remember, so when I took time, I did the therapy because a relationship coming out of college did not leave me in a good place. So once I got fixed from that, stopped for a little bit, and then restarted up, I would say maybe like 2 months ago or something like that. So I just remember like coming out, I was like, okay, I feel great. I feel awesome. I'm back. I'm good to go again. And then there's that moment where like you crash back down to reality. We're like, oh geez, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. How do you pick yourself up when you have those highs and then lows, and then trying to build your way back up those highs?
Mm-hmm. Tears are instrumental, definitely, in cleansing the slate and
Yeah,
releasing stress.
yeah.
um, I'd say if I'm in a good spot and can pull back to the things that I learned in therapy, sometimes, one of their mottos or techniques. I've really liked meditation lately. I
Hmm.
use that a lot with my brothers passing because there were lots of things to take care of. So
True.
sometimes I just had 10 minutes was like all the sleep rest I got, and then I had to keep going to fix things.
Yeah.
So I definitely like that tool.
Okay. I I remember there was a time where like my therapist was like, Keoni, you're spinning out, you're kind of rushing to this right now. I need you to stop, close your eyes, and like breathe slowly. And he'll do it for like 2 minutes. I was like, okay, are you keeping track? Am I keeping track, or what's going on here? So I found out like, I did it, but then he's like, that was horrible. Do it again. Because he's just like, you just went, and not like actually like did slowly. So I was like, why was that hard for you? I was like, I just feel like, I don't know. It just felt weird to just sit and not do anything. How do you just like sit and not do anything and turn your brain off, Emily?
Yeah. I like the guided meditations that someone else is talking. So
Okay.
I am focusing
Mm.
on that. And then, of course, they do the whole like, think about this and think about that. That is more relaxing. So I like that. I also in college had the opportunity to take a spiritual studies course that
Mm.
encouraged us to go visit different religious sites and styles and practices. So we got to do one that focused specifically on meditation through just breath, and that was very, very hard. So just every time your mind wanders, you come back to it, and you're supposed to not feel judgment or that you're failing, that your mind has wandered,
Yeah.
but you just continually come back. So that was quite an exercise. It would take me a long time to get near mastery of that.
You have done so many unique things that I have found nothing about.
I really like living life. I am the person who will always say yes one time because I want to try it.
Mhm.
And then, if I come back or not, that's okay too. But I don't often say no to opportunity.
So how did you feel when I asked you to come onto my show?
I did say no twice, didn't I?
Well, you didn't say no, confirm. You're like, let's look at after the holiday season. And then you're
Okay.
like, let's look a little past forward. Then I was like, I should probably take another swing, But when I first initially asked you, because again, this is not an easy thing to do, just sit in, I mean, you've done it for virtual wine experience, but you never got to actually talk about yourself. Yeah, this is not easy. Just to have a sit for a camera, know that this is recorded, know that this is going to be released. How did you soundboard this opportunity out with your loved ones?
Yeah, I ran it by my husband, who has seen me in a number of situations. Um, and thinking on my feet. I am a very fast processor, but
Mm,
not so much a fast talker. I
mm.
wouldn't say witty is my game or the wise cracks very quickly. I like to really think about what I say. So
Yeah.
having the long lead time was very helpful to me. And once I understood that I could have a little bit of forethought into what we might be talking about, that helped me feel more comfortable. But I must say, I had an hour of racing heart before we started today and chose some manual labor here at the winery to just prepare. Um,
Ah.
but I'm proud of how it's come across so far, and hopefully intelligibly, and you've understood what I've wanted to say.
Yeah, and honestly, um you can put it together a pretty strong sentence. I was just like, everything you've said, I was just like, wow, she sounds very composed, she sounds very like
Oh,
prepared, and she sounds like she knows exactly the things she wants to say. And if she cracks the door for me to kind of ask some follow-up questions, did I go through that door? I don't know, but I sure tried.
Well, I thought it was a lovely experience. And yes, my first in this kind of venue, putting myself out there and personalized, not just specifically repping for a company or a thing. So thank you for the opportunity.
I mean, we talked about the company for like a little bit here or there. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's still part of your identity, and well, it's still a weird thing to think about. Like a job is my identity, but it's like, I mean, I represent the company I work for, even when I'm not working for them right now. It's like if I'm in the news, I don't want people like the CEO or
These
president.
days.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want the people to be like, oh, he's a part of us. I want to
Mhm.
make sure I represent the brand.
I think it's easier to do too if you're passionate about the work that you do, then it's doesn't have to feel as separate. I assume that if you don't like your job, then maybe you would want a little more delineation between your work and home life.
Let's put it this way: if I didn't like my job, I would live a little further from the place, not 10 minutes away, because it's like, oh, you're 10 minutes away, then you can come to the office all the time. Damn it!
So close. They
So
need me.
Emily, so as we wrap up, there is one thing I like to do is that I like to ask two hypothetical questions from this packet of 170 hypothetical questions. I did mark a couple for you prior to us coming together. Let me just find those real quick. So the first question is, if you were the next Pied Piper, meaning if you play a flute and an animal follows you, what animal would you want to follow you?
Dogs.
Dogs.
Dogs. We had cats growing up, so I wasn't inducted into the wonderfulness that is a dog that adores you and loves you. Um, and 8 years ago, I got a yellow lab who is my best friend
Nice.
for hiking and adventures. She's gotten a little jealous of the human babies. But if I could be a Pied Piper of dogs that would follow anywhere I go, I think that would be a very fun trip.
So I am animal sitting for a neighbor, and so prior to us talking, I went over to her house. I picked up the dog, and we went to just walk a little bit down the pathway, just so the dog can get some exercise and use the bathroom. I remember that was probably the first time in a very long time I've touched dog poop. So I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
oh my god,
Mhm.
it's so weird. But it's like, it's not too bad actually.
Maybe in a great big open field where they could run and play, we could throw some balls, but I wouldn't have to do as much of that.
Yeah, yeah. If you weren't walking right in front of other people's homes and
Mhm.
they can easily catch you. Yeah, I think I could see
Yes.
that. I could see that. So I think, yeah, cats would be an interesting one because they do have a really cute face, but it's also like, mm, I wouldn't want all that, meowing and yelling.
Well, they don't
Um,
really follow so well.
no,
But yeah.
no. I don't know why. Okay, so I live near the Washington Square Mall, and there's a lot of trees here, which means there are a lot of squirrels.
Mm.
I'll take an easy answer. I'll just do squirrels.
Yeah.
Follow me, squirrels. Go get that nut.
Squirrels. You would never
uh,
go hungry.
exactly. Protein. So my last question, it's kind of an easy one, but I thought it would make a good answer. If your salary was doubled, what would you do with the extra income?
Probably travel. We've I really love my little house. And kind of the life that we've developed here in small town America. So I don't see a need or a desire to change my daily life. Um, but I do think traveling and the time that the extra money would afford to travel is worthwhile.
It's this time right now at this recording. There's a lot of things kind of going on in my life, meaning like, oh, I'm looking to move in with my partner. I'm also potentially getting a car. I'm also looking at like, if just like eliminate some student debt, for example. It's like, oh, if I could get at least one of those, like half of that covered, oh, my heart would be at such great ease.
Yes. Yeah, big pieces to figure out there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So Emily, I know that you are only on LinkedIn, so if people want to follow you there, do so by just looking up Emily's name. But where can the people find Adelsheim's social media, or where can they find Adelsheim?
Yeah, I believe we're across most platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those, just by searching Adelsheim. We're lucky with that A in our name and having it be pretty unique. We don't have to have different monikers there. And of course, adelsheim.com has all of the resources you would need, either for corporate gifting or to come visit us out in beautiful wine country, or to get any of our actual handles or things.
Yeah, and again, we were trying. In my head during this conversation, I was trying not to do too much of the talk about work, but again, I just had to get that one last little jab in there.
Thank you, and I really love it. This job has worked well long term for my life, and I don't see there needing to be a change anytime soon. So I'm very passionate and knowledgeable at this point about it.
Yeah, it's definitely fun when you can feel your conversations with customers just expand from like maybe 2 minutes of like, yeah, we have this one, we have that one, to like, yeah, we have this wine. It comes from this vineyard over there. Oh, you can see your knowledge and applying it. That's got to be fun.
It is, yeah.
Emily, you officially have a podcast episode to your name. How do you feel?
Woohoo. Proud and thankful that I overcame the initial emotional resistance to it, because I think it's a great thing, another feather to add in the cap.
Now, this episode will stay on the internet as long as the internet is alive. Is there anything you want to say to Rose and James as potentially they run into this 10 years down the line?
Oh, wonderful. What a great opportunity. I believe in you. Passionately follow your dreams wherever they may go.
And that is the first time I've ever given a mom the opportunity to give a shout out to their kids.
That's so sweet.
Giant thank you to the guests for coming on and telling their story. And giant thank you to you for sticking around until the end of the episode. If you like what you heard or watched and would like more from Keoni Chats, the show can be found on all podcast platforms and YouTube. So like and subscribe there to get notified when new episodes are released. Or if you would like to follow the show on social media and get your notifications that way, you could do so by following KC Media 13 on Instagram and Twitter, and Conlu K Media on Facebook. So if you'd like to become a guest, you can email me at kcmedia13@yahoo.com. Tell me your story. I'd love to talk with you and love to get you on the show. So until the next episode, everyone, please take care.